There we go. Well, you're dead anyways. Got him. Hey, rude. Also rude. Also rude. Like super rude, bro. Okay, well, you aren't going down easy, so we leave! We flee! Ooh. Go. There we go. Oh no! We perished! Well, that is unfortunate. But let's see what else Spore has in store for us. Diving right in, there are 3 main things I want to figure out. I want to help show how the game unfolds, and whether each portion of the game is as meaningful as the rest, and the overall gameplay loop, and how well it holds up. So without further ado, here's a Bullcrap introduction to Spore. So first question, how does the game unfold? The game of Spore, quite simply, is a game about evolution. Since Spore came out nearly 17 years ago, it's worth keeping that in mind as we dive into what makes it tick. You begin by choosing a name for your planet, which I may have misunderstood as naming the species you create, so after trying to decide on a name for my most recent run of the game, I went with Sir Figglebottom. Once you come up with a name for your planet though, the beginning cutscene plays. It's a decent segment. Further adding to the grandiose concept of evolution, we follow a random comet hurling through space that just so happens to have our little creature on it. Landing on the planet, we really only have one main goal: survive. This will include avoiding creatures that are bigger, faster, or stronger than we are, creating friends or enemies by becoming a social creature in other areas of the game, and as we continue to evolve and mutate through the stages of development, we develop a brain. Speaking of which, this game actually has quite a few stages as you progress. There's the beginning cell stage with limited features and abilities, a battle for existence, and your initial exposure to the creature creator. Then you develop into the creature stage. Your limbs and appendages provides bonuses and abilities that help you explore the land around you as you continue to evolve. As your intelligence grows, you enter the tribal stage, where you'll form alliances, or wipe out entire species. You then form an entire civilization, with the main goal of converting or conquering the entire planet to join you. And finally, the successful takeover of the planet prompts you to look up into the stars, for whatever other cursed creatures you might find. Now on paper, this much content to a single game sounds quite interesting, right? You've got multiple different survival, RPG, action, real-time strategy portions to the game, and they're all played through this life simulation godlike perspective we have here. But how do these stages rank amongst themselves? Does each phase feel meaningful? Well, the beginning stage is the most iconic. It's the beginnings to you understanding and learning the game, and you really get to explore the creativity of designing your creature with such a limited space, only having a top-down view. Then the creature stage, I would say, is probably one of the best portions of the game, since it not only expands on an already excellent creature editor, but you feel the impact and the growth that you obtain by expanding what parts you have at your disposal, either by rummaging through bones, destroying enemies, or gaining friends. The tribal stage does feel a bit redundant compared to the civilization stage. I say this because you're essentially just going from being able to make fire to being able to drive a car. That's because both stages share the same goal. You want to go around expanding your circle of influence, which ends up feeling like the focus on these portions is the speed how fast you can spread across the planet, rather than focusing on the actual content of diplomacy or conquest. Not to mention, the space exploration part of the game is probably the most lacking. Every time I manage to get to this final stage, I always am so excited to figure out what's around the corner. And it always ends up turning into a real-time resource management game that's way more tedious than it's worth continuing to play. Considering each of these evolutionary stages back to back, however, does Spore's gameplay loop hold up? And ultimately, Spore will always hold a special place in my heart, but the replayability of the game is quite lacking. Sure, you can always jump back in and pick the stage you want to explore, focusing on the parts you enjoy most, but going from having to play each stage in its entirety to getting to pick and choose like the toppings of a pizza doesn't really blend well. The overall progression and flow of the game is quite long, and while I might have not fully explored the space stage to this game, I could tell that by the time I even reached it, I was already getting tired of the repetitive nature of many of the stages before. It does bring us to the big question: does Spore still hold up? After spending a solid chunk of time with this RTS classic, I have to say, it hasn't aged all that well. The gameplay is extremely repetitive for certain stages, and even if you jump straight into the later portions of the game without having to go through the entire evolutionary process, at that point, you're not even personally invested. You're either making goofy creatures and vehicles, or like me, just pushing through to see the end. Which I should clarify, I didn't end up beating this video game, so if you'd like to see what the ending's like, go ahead and take a look at it on Steam. Find out for yourself and let me know in the comments. With that being said, I do feel that there are many things that this game has going well for it though. Like, the base idea for this game is extremely interesting. The ability to cultivate and watch as your created species progresses through time is a pretty rare game mechanic I haven't seen made at all recently. As well, you can come up with some pretty funny designs with a creation editor. Whether it's funky looking creatures or in attempting to build creative vehicles and buildings, I can really appreciate the fact that so much of this game is custom to how you want to build it. Not to mention the fact you can log in. If you browse the online capabilities of this game, you get to experience what other cursed creatures and buildings people have come up with. Plus, playing on normal difficulty led to way more deaths and way more challenge than I expected. While some of the aspects of the game are quite unique, the character builder is quirky and interesting to use, or you may actually end up facing some quite difficult opponents. In the end, I think Spore earns 5 cursed creatures out of 10. I mean, just look at some of these guys. Did you enjoy the video? If so, why don't you let me know? You can leave a like or write something down in the comments. You can let me know if you agree with my rating of the game, or if I'm absolute garbage for having a shit opinion. You should also subscribe. It's free and extremely helps out the channel. I try to consistently upload on Sundays, but if you'd like to see additional updates, or just hang out, you should join the Discord. The link can be found in my account's description, and I'd love to see if we can build a community of people who'd like to hang out and talk video games. But otherwise, I hope you're having, or have had, a wonderful day. See ya.